Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to Living in the Limelight, an Anton Scholl and Friends podcast where we discuss music from the artist and fan perspective. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. All right, welcome to another episode of Living in the Limelight. I am your host, Anton Scholl, and today with me, very special guest from the Whiskey Dogz, we have Star Field. Star, thank you for joining us.
Hey.
Hey.
Nice to be here.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know you're working today. I appreciate you taking the time to take off and do this with us because there's a lot to discuss. We'll try to get it done as quickly and efficiently as possible. But we do have a lot to cover. So really want to talk about right now. Let's just first go talk about you a little bit. All right. We'll get to Whiskey Dogz in a moment. So let's talk about you for a little bit. This podcast is basically about, music, musicians, from the perspective of kind of both from a fan and from a musician standpoint.
Right.
And obviously growing up before you became a musician, you were obviously a fan of music.
Always.
So I want to go way back to like your first really instance of music where you went, wow, that is what I want to do.
Okay, I'm going to go even farther back just because it's kind of interesting. When I was 5 years old, my mom couldn't get a babysitter, and she took me to see the Beatles at the Seattle Coliseum.
Wow.
All I remember about that is girls screaming, but that's just my first musical experience. Wanting to be in a band started in grade school. Probably, I was still a huge Beatles fan at that time. Then, the Beatles broke up, and I had to find somewhere to go, and that's right about the time Deep Purple was coming out with Made in Japan, and that's when I wanted to become a musician.
Oh, great album. Yeah.
So
then that kind of
rock concert. Yeah. It's like,
yes. Don Kirshner's rock concert was huge. That's where I first saw Rush, and that's what obviously got me into being a big Rush fan. But they had some great shows on there. All right. So when you saw with Deep Purple, what was the instrument? I know that you're an accomplished bass player. But was that your first instrument, or did you want to play guitar first? What was your thing?
It was about my fourth instrument. I'm actually a keyboard player as well. I was a big keyboard player at the time. I was still playing keyboards, and I started playing bass in high school, and I was in a marching band in high school with a bass with a battery-powered pig nose that the company actually gave me, and So I used to be in marching band with a pig nose amplifier and playing bass.
Wow, that's awesome.
I was in orchestra playing string bass.
Oh, so did you read music?
Yes.
Wow. See, a lot of musicians that I speak to, and me included, I can't read a lick of music. It's just something that
I'm slower than I used to be. It's a lot slower than I used to be because I don't play as much as I used to, but I still play keyboards and I still play bass.
Wow. Okay. So then Deep Purple, besides Deep Purple, what were your initial influences getting into a band? But let's look at bass. Just focus on bass in general. Were there some bands that you listened to and like the bass was like, wow, that really sticks out? I want to do that.
Well, I'm going with you on Rush on that. But of course, Roger Glover from Deep Purple was huge for me. And probably Yes. They're Chris, whatever from Yes.
Yeah, Chris Squire, sure.
Yes. And that was, beginning of my bass career. That later, I started singing back, same time, and I can't sing and play bass at the same time. So oddly, I mean, I can do backup vocals, but I can't actually do the vocals. So the current band I'm in, when we started, I was the bass player, and when they started learning songs while I was out of town on a show, I came back. We couldn't find a vocalist, so I said, "Hey, I could sing that," and we switched bass players. I was singing much, long before that in different bands, but.
Oh, okay. Now, where was this? Where did all of this start? Was it in California or Arizona, or where did it start?
Arizona. I'm from Arizona, and I grew up there, and then was in a lot of bands growing up. Back with Future Allies, I recorded some music with that band. With me singing, but with back with Steve and Roger and Steve Rogers and Dave Borst and Butler. all playing, and I was singing. So that was actually for a movie soundtrack. The movie bought, and then Orion Films went under. 5 years later, somebody bought the movie. It came out with a different song. But then I went to Texas and Louisiana, and I toured a band out there for a few years, and then came back to Arizona.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're originally from Arizona.
I am. Well, I'm originally from Seattle, but I've been in Arizona since I was 6. So yeah, I'm saying I'm from Arizona.
So you're quite aware of the Arizona music scene.
Yes, it's and it's gone up and down a lot, but it's gotten much better as of late. There was a lull for a while back in the 90s, I think, and starting in the early 2000s, it started stepping up, and I think it's a great music scene these days.
So what is the difference, in your opinion, between the Arizona music scene and, let's say, California, or specifically maybe Los Angeles?
Unfortunately, Arizona seems to really go for the cover bands and tribute bands. That's what everybody wants. And in Los Angeles, they want original music. So for me, it works much better in Los Angeles.
Right. Okay. And do you also live out there now?
I have an apartment in Los Angeles. I work in Los Angeles, but I have a house, and my home is still Arizona.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, can we talk about your work a little bit, because that fascinates me. You know, yeah. Well, go ahead and first talk about it, and then I'll kind of jump in on certain things. What do you do?
Well, I'm a construction coordinator. I'm in charge of building the sets. I have a little bit of the design I get to do, and I used to do feature films when I was growing up, and then late 90s I came to California and started doing television series.
Okay, and what are some of those?
I started in Los Angeles doing Charmed with Alyssa Milano, and then from there we went on to Sons of Anarchy. We did The Last Ship. We did The Mayans, and all of those are multiple years, and a few other shows a lot of other shows in between. And I did features before that, which I did The Sandlot, and I worked on Raising Arizona and Bill and Ted's back in Arizona. But when I came to California, I started with Charmed.
Wow.
And I'm currently doing 911.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. Okay. That's where I am today. We're working today.
Oh, great. Well, I said it was interesting because, some of the clips, like when people are watching, Sons of Anarchy or Mayans, all of a sudden a scene will pop up with all the motorcycles and the motorcyclists, and there you go. You see Star kind of passing by, or you see a little cameo now and then.
I had a hand in casting the extras on Sons of Anarchy and Mayans, as far as all the riders. So certainly, since I had the hand in doing it, I put myself in there.
Throw yourself, of course. Why not? It pays to know people.
Right.
Very good. And then you also had a couple of your songs in the soundtrack.
Yes, Mayans. The last 3 years, every year they bought one of our songs from us, and it was in the soundtrack. So we're hoping to do that with 911 as well. There's a movie coming to the Chandler Film Festival this weekend on the 27th. I'm not sure when this live is, but we have 2 songs in that soundtrack. It's called The Road to Terzetta. Good friend of mine, a bass player actually, Sean McNabb, co-wrote that, co-stars in it, co-produced it, and also did the soundtrack. And took 2 of our songs in there. It won Best Soundtrack in the New York Film Festival.
I just saw that. Yeah. Congratulations. That's great. To you too, if you're on there.
We have 2 songs in there. It's nice.
Wow. Now, let me ask you this: as a musician and for the musicians out there that are listening, how does it work when you said that they bought songs? Now, do they actually buy the rights, or do they just buy the use?
They buy a one-time use, and then anything after that, like a couple of our songs from Mayans have been picked up in Europe, and we actually get a lot of airplay in Europe on radio airplay.
So what about reruns or things like that happen? Would you get residuals if you sell your song? You still own the copyright, you still own the writing credits, correct?
We do get residuals, but not that much. And like our radio airplay, which is hundreds of thousands of airplay on radio, it's still not that much.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, you think we all know as musicians how many millions you have to, you're not going to make millions off of those streams. 100,000 streams will get you cup of coffee, it seems.
But
You know.
it is nice to know that we're huge in Japan, or no, we're actually fairly big in Europe on radio.
Oh, that's great. And any ideas of coming up with, hey, if you're that, if you're really big out in there, any kind of touring or any kind of plan going on to maybe visit it for 3 months?
I'm actually talking to a promoter about a 7-country tour in Europe right now.
Wow.
And we were talking about this year. It's probably pushed till next year because of my business. And there was a writers strike for 6 months. So we're just catching up on that right now. So I think our tour will be next summer.
Wow, that's great. That's awesome. Yeah. Living the dream, I see.
Yeah, and we're actually talking about touring with an 80s band that I loved was Babylon AD, and they're talking about wanting to do the tour with us, which would be great.
Oh, wow, yeah. All right, well then let's talk about the band. Let's talk about Whiskey Dogz. Now, Whiskey Dogz goes way back, so I want to kind of bring it way back and just talk about the formation of it, how it started, because you started out as more of a cover band. And so just tell me like how it started, how the name originated, and then we'll get into the evolution of the whole thing.
Well, originally, my friend Slammer and I, he was throwing a Halloween party. We tried to hire a band to play the party. They wanted $2,000, and I'm like, hell, we'll start our own band. So we did. We started our own band and we played the party. Nice. I was trying to name the band K9 at the time. He liked whiskey, and there we go. We got Whiskey Dogz. Oh. So, and we were a cover band we started this in 2006. And Slammer stayed with us until I want to say 2017. He left the band, and by that time I was tired of doing covers. I wanted to do originals, and he really wanted to keep doing covers. Cover bands make more money than original bands, and so he decided to go with his girlfriend into Scarlet Fever. They're a great cover band. And we picked up our friend Jane as doing originals. Yeah, Jane was a local here from Arizona, I think originally from California also. Yes, she is. Or actually, yeah. She's actually from Wisconsin, but then somewhere in the Midwest, right. Yeah. Okay. So then when Jane got in, you started out with the originals, but Jane is an awesome guitar player. I know you're very excited. I spoke to you at one point in time when you had come out to one of my video shoots that I did for mine. And you had talked about just an amazing guitar she is and what it brings to the band. And did the music go in the direction, because it was real heavy, kind of heavy-ish. You were keeping that motorcycle theme almost. Was there like is that the direction that you were looking for initially? It is. Yes, that is the direction. A lot of that stuff was there, but she wanted to go heavier. She's more of a Slayer type of guitar player. That was what she wanted to do. And I'm more into the bluesy motorcycle rock, 80s sound. Yeah. And at one point we were going to add our second guitar player to the band with Jane, and that was Michael Nitro, who I've been friends with for 20 or 30 years. We've talked over the years about doing a project. Jane actually invited him, and when he joined, before he ever did join, she decided to step down for personal reasons. Yeah. Okay. And the songs though that came out of that session with Jane were, I'm just gonna the couple, the ones that you have on streaming right now. You have Bounty Hunter, Motorcycle Song, See You Tonight, Loud and Loud, which is actually Loud and Loud. Yeah. I named it that. About that one. We've renamed it. It's back in the day we were the Whiskey Dogz, Loud and Loud. It's actually Party Like a Rock Star is the new name of that song. And okay. I wrote the lyrics that long ago. I wrote those when Slammer was still in the band. Oh, okay. And then you have Ride It, and you have Rockin' Is My Business. Right. So which is a cover, from the Four Horsemen back in the 80s. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. So then tell me about the writing process. What was the writing process? How did it go out what was your first song out of these, let's say, the first song that you did? I'd say Party Like a Rock Star was our first. I already had the lyrics for it. we just, as collectively, Jane came up with a riff. She'd come to my house sometimes and just sit down and play riffs. I'd record her, and then I'd come up with lyrics and a melody to the riffs, and that's how that process is working. Dane also plays guitar, and our bass player, and Motorcycle Song, for example, he came up with that riff, and he came up with the lyrics, and some of the lyrics I liked, some I didn't. I rewrote them, and we used a few of his and most of mine, and we came up with that song.
So then it really is collaborative. It's not that somebody brings a song in, like if you listen to some of Pete Townsend, when Pete Townsend wrote a song, he played every instrument on there. He made a demo and he said, here you go, play this song and sing it. Right. And that's it. Right. So you're a lot more collaborative as far as the musicians go, and you let them put in their input and everybody does it all together.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. And I think that's great. I was really surprised about that Pete Townsend did that, because I even heard a demo of The Real Me, which I love the bass line to The Real Me, and he had done that bass line in The Real Me when he did the demo.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy, but I love the idea, and that's how I used to do it way back in the day. I had a band in Chicago called Strict 9, and we would do that. We'd collaborate with that together, all be in the studio together or in our practice spot. One person would come up with the riff. We would start changing off with riffs and when to change, when to go into the chorus or a bridge, and then the singer would sit in a corner and write out these lyrics immediately, and we would throw it together. So much better to work collaboratively. But then you now had moved on to Michael Nitro.
Yes.
And we haven't had the ability to hear it unless you go on your website. You may be able to hear a song with Nitro playing the guitar. But what changed in that respect when it comes to how the songs are, how they're sounding, and how the writing changed, if it has?
Michael usually comes up with a riff. He'll send me riffs online because I work out of state. One of our songs, actually, he did write completely, and he just brought it in, and we just did that. That would be Just Because. And then we Throttle is a new song with Michael as well. We've re-recorded most of our songs. Write It and Bounty Hunter were both Jane's riffs 100%. So those we left those recordings with Jane because those were really hers, and I added the lyrics and the melodies. But so those two we left. We re-recorded the rest of our songs with Michael, and we have a new one called Throttle. One of them on our webpage is Trial by Fire, which we started with Jane. We never finished it. Michael came in. We kept working on it, and we recorded that with Michael, and that's one of them in the movie soundtrack that we did. The other is Party Like a Rock Star.
Okay.
And so Michael and I have been friends for at least 25 years, and we've always talked about working together. I'm really having a great time with the guy.
Yeah, and he is also having a great time with you. I know he keeps posting about that. And Michael is, a phenomenal guitar player in his own right, phenomenal songwriter. He's been on tour out of the country. He's done so much on his own and is a well-known guitar player. And,
yes,
to work with you, he posts a lot. He posts like on Facebook or wherever he's posting. He always posts like working with the Whiskey Dogz is amazing. And,
right.
For somebody to do that at his stature, has got to be kudos to you guys because of the way you work and your ethic.
Really is. He was he was like what I really wanted in this band was Michael. He's a great guy. He's a great writer. He's a great singer for that matter. And we're having so much fun with the guy. Just about every show we've done in Los Angeles has sold out since Michael joined the band.
Wow. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that because Los Angeles, obviously, you guys play at the famed Whiskey A Go-Go, which is again another musician's dream, right. And you've lived that quite some times now. You've played there a few times, and you've opened up for some great bands. Talk a little bit about Whiskey A Go-Go and how that is.
Whiskey, it's a very fun place to play. It's an iconic venue. 60 years old this year. I know the guy who does all the booking, and they're good friends. They're very nice, and it's a great place to play. But it's nice to work with a lot of the huge bands from the 80s, that come through there. And some of them are friends of mine that we're playing with. And we're opening for Keel this coming April at the Whiskey.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Ron Keel is a great guy. I've actually been talking to him a little bit. I'll be on his radio. We're on his radio playlist. He has his own station, and he's a great guy. So we have a show coming up in April with him, and I'm really looking forward to it. I know him and his entire band, so that's going to be a very fun night. Then later in the year, we're playing with Lita Ford over there, which her guitar player, I actually did a video with him in the early 2000s. He was in a band called Union Underground that we did. I did the sets for Revolution Man, and so Patrick Kinnison, and he's now Lita's guitar player. So it's a lot of fun to work with these bands that you grew up with. They're all iconic bands that you have all their CDs, and all of a sudden you're opening for them. So that's a lot of fun.
Right.
The Canyon clubs out here too are very nice, and we open for Zebra and for Foghat. Yeah, a lot of fun.
And what is the Whiskey hold? How big of a place is that?
The Whiskey holds just under 500 people, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen, you've packed it every single time you played there.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we've been, I'm, of course, the headlining acts, I'm going to give a lot of credit to, though we certainly pull in at least 10% of that. So we've had some good times there. Stryper and Stephen Piercy and Faster Pussycat multiple times. We just played with LA Guns at New Year's Eve. That was also sold out. Dangerous Toys. It's like a lot of the great bands. Quiet Riot. We played with so many bands that I love. We played with Love Hate there as well, and that was a great band. Who he's now on Quiet Riot, their vocalist, Jizzy Pearl.
Well, I gotta say this, and again, I'm not just hyping you up because you're on my show. It's when you know that you've made it, when you have people posting on Facebook from Arizona that are going to take a 6-hour road trip to go out to see you, that
and I love those. I love those people. We have a lot of them that drive all the way to California to see our shows, and that makes you feel great. It's we have the best fans, we really do, and a lot of these songs, it's amazing to be playing the Whiskey because Led Zeppelin played there, everybody's played there, and we're doing our songs and the crowd's singing with us. They know the words, and our CD won't be out until March this year, so it's pretty impressive that they've seen us enough that they know the words to a lot of our songs.
Yeah, well, and because they're catchy too. They're not like a pop song. They're very heavy in a sense. They're very you can really get into them. And when you hear them, you end up humming the chorus. And that's, really to you on the melodies. You come up with these melodies that on a heavy song, you come up with a melody that you can walk away humming, and that's what people obviously, go for. So that's great.
Yeah. Guitar riffs and hook and lyric hooks. Those are what I really love. And that's where Michael is amazing when it comes to the riffs. He's got some very catchy riffs.
So let me ask you this: with Michael in the band now, and he is a singer, are you guys experimenting or doing anything with more harmonies or with I don't know, just vocally? Are you guys experimenting with anything between you and him?
We absolutely are. Yes, we've added Michael's vocals quite a bit, and I love singing with Michael because our harmonies are very good together. I have a very good range, but a lot of my stuff is in the lower range, and with Michael's higher range, it really sounds good. We're our studio that we're recording in right now in Mesa actually is it's an incredible studio. I've never seen anything like it. It's Platinum Underground, and it's John Aquilino from the band Icon is our producer engineer over there. He owns the studio, and he's done some incredible things over there. So the CD I'm really looking forward to. I think it's going to do fairly well, actually.
Great. And you're looking at that in March?
We're looking at it in March. We hope to finish it, in February completely. Unfortunately, live from Fox. I'm working here today. I'm supposed to be in the studio tomorrow, but next week I plan on getting back in there.
So what seems to be the marketing kind of strategy for you guys when it comes to music? CDs. One, do CDs sell? And can you do better with streaming, or how do you plan on marketing the music to get it out there and get people to listen to it?
That's a really great question. I'm going to talk to some of my friends who do have their music out. We're coming out with a CD. I'm also coming out with memory sticks, so you can, because not everybody has a CD player, but everybody has a computer. And even though I think a lot of newer ones don't even have memory sticks, but we'll be selling the music that way. I have to check on the streaming. I don't really know that much about it, but I have a lot of friends in the business that will be helping us market this.
Great. Well, then let's get some of your information out there. What is your website? And right now in streaming, probably other than Spotify, because everybody knows you're on Spotify.
Right.
What's your website, and where else can people catch your music?
Actually, our website is whiskeydogs.com. You can go there for our page. And any streaming service out there, we're on about 28 different, we're through DistroKid, and they distribute that through just about every streaming service you can see.
Right. Okay. Now, Whiskey Dogz, we just want to make sure that everybody realizes and understands. It's Whiskey Dogz with a Z, correct?
Correct. Whiskey with an E and Dogs with a Z. Yes.
Okay. Very good. Good. You want to make sure, because the little thing like that could people have, maybe have them not find your page.
There may even be another one. They're now defunct, but they spelled their name the same way. Though I do own the name. I do own the copyright on it.
Oh, okay, cool.
So then, actually, when you talk about bass playing and singing at the same time, I've seen your band a lot. I've seen you play a lot, and yeah, you do an amazing job singing and playing at the same time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That was something from many years ago, because when I heard Rush, that was something that I said I wanted to do. And I picked up the bass. I bought a Rickenbacker. I bought a 4001, a 74 Rickenbacker bass. And I started playing Rush songs, and I got so angry because I couldn't figure out how the heck he did that. You would have to sit there and play the same bass riff over and over and over again until you just did it, without just kind of muscle memory. And then you can start singing.
Right.
So that was a challenge. That was definitely a challenge to do, but it was a lot of fun.
You pulled it off extremely well, I have to tell you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, it is a lot of fun.
Yeah, the other bass player who I got to know a little bit was Lemmy, who sang and played at the same time, and loved that Rickenbacker. But because of my production with the doing the sets and all that, I worked on a Motorhead video in Phoenix. That part of it was actually filmed in my dining room in Phoenix, and so I mean I have a quick story. It's kind of fun. The house I was renting was for sale. So people came to look at it, and I said, "Hey, you're supposed to call first." And they're like, "Oh, we're just in the neighborhood, and a couple of cute girls." So I let them come in, told them it wasn't a great time. They stepped through the door, and there's my daughter, about 1 or 2 years old, sitting in the living room with all of Motorhead except Lemmy. And then a few more steps, and I have Lemmy in my dining room, strapped into an electric chair, and I was the executioner. He was I built the electric chair, and we electrocuted him in my dining room. And the people stepped through the door, saw Lemmy, and they left. We never saw them again. It's like,
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, fun stuff.
Yeah. The things that you have seen and the things that you have done. I was thinking about a movie years ago that I had seen, to where when somebody you're able to go in and put something on their eyes or on their head, and you're able to see their memories. I can imagine the memories that we would see if somebody were able to do that to you at one point in time, back from seeing the Beatles, all the way up to, being with Lemmy in stories. I mean, just amazing the things that you've gone through.
It is some amazing things, really. Yeah, it's I've been blessed, and right down to my personal life is perfect. My wife is very supportive. Comes to most of our shows. Most people want to see her more than me. Like, oh, is Linda there? It's like, oh, then we'll come. It's like,
right.
It's just so, but it's we're very lucky. The entire band, we've got great support, and it's Michael's wife is amazing. She should be our manager, actually. But it's a very good support system. We have a lot of friends. We have a lot of people close to us, and then all these 80s rock stars. Because of my film and Los Angeles connections, I've become friends with so many of them. Sean McNabb being one of my best friends. And yeah, he knows everybody in the business. He played with Quiet Riot, with Great White, with, he's been in so many bands, Dawkins and Lynch Mob. And, right now I think he's playing with Rhino Bucket. So recently the Bullet Boys, the guy's in everything and he knows everybody. Wow. It's amazing. So he's introduced me to all his friends. So,
well, let me ask you this kind of a stretch of a question then. Are you thinking about the memoirs of Star Fields? Getting into any book writing or any kind of documentary, maybe a bio on you, kind of a biography on you on film would be amazing.
It's funny. I just last night was talking to one of the old rock stars from Phoenix about he's writing a book, and it was one of the Dorian brothers, Doug Dorian, and I'm actually thinking about writing a book. Yes, I am.
Really?
Yeah.
Great.
So because some of the stories, I have some interesting and hilarious stories from this life.
Yeah. Well, that's why. Yeah. I would think a lot of musicians, I think, and especially you, should do something like remember how VH1 used to do Behind the Music?
Yeah.
Something like that. I think would make a phenomenal video biography of you. I think that would be great.
It would be. It actually would be fun. I would like to do that. I mean, I also ride these Monster of Rock cruises. I'm not sure who's into those, but they have like 30 80s bands on the boat, and a lot of them are friends of mine, or you meet them on the boat and you become friends. So all the 80s bands are on there, and the musicians have nowhere to go. They hang out with the crew and it's a lot of fun. I'm usually a photographer on that boat. So it's I've done that about 9 times and it's a lot of fun.
Wow. Great. All right. Well, I'm going to ask you a couple of quick questions, because then we're going to, I know you got work to do. I know you have to go. And again, I appreciate you taking the time to do this and learning all about things you do. I mean, I was impressed with you before. I'm even more impressed with you now. So be great to get you out there, and and we'll show this podcast out. It'll be available on Spotify, and then Amazon Music, and then YouTube. So we'll get it out there.
Great.
Questions for you then, totally outside, but still with music. You being a lead singer in a band, I know you have the perfect band right now, and your musicians are perfect. But let's say Star Fields needed a band to back him up. Who would be your ideal musicians, alive or dead, behind you supporting Star Fields?
I love my own band, actually, but
I know. I said I already counted them out. Yeah.
Okay, if I have to count them out, okay. If I have to
count them out. Yeah.
I would probably bring Sean McNabb as my bass player.
Oh.
These are people I know, most of them. Gilby Clark, I would bring in as a guitar player, and I love Ron Keel, but he's really. I guess I'd love to have Ron Keel in the band. I have to tell you, he's a great guitar player and he's a great vocalist and just a super nice guy. And drummers, live or dead, it would be Jason or John Bonham.
John Bonham, great. Yeah,
my favorite drummer of all time.
Sure.
And
nice.
There's so many great players out there.
Right. All right, last silly question.
Mm-hmm.
Who would be your Mount Rushmore of musicians? 4 musicians that you would think should be on the Mount Rushmore of musicians.
Basically, you just put Led Zeppelin up there, I think. That, to me, that is like one of the.
Love that. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. The guys from Deep Purple, maybe John Lord. It's like, So I couldn't pick 4 musicians. I really couldn't, because so many great bands. Alice Cooper is an amazing talent, but
sure.
Yeah, I don't think I could pick 4. There'd be an awful lot of people up there.
It'd be a big mountain.
It'd be a very big mountain.
All right. Well, Star, thank you very much for joining us. I really do appreciate it. I know you're busy. We'll let you get back to it. But again, thank you everyone for joining us. It's Living in the Limelight podcast. I'm your host, Anton Scholl, and please subscribe and join and follow, do everything you can and share. And we will see you next week on another episode. Thank you, Star. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Anton. It's great talking to you again.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for joining our Living in the Limelight podcast with your host, Anton Scholl. Please feel free to comment, like, follow, share, and subscribe. And also add us to your playlist on your favorite streaming sites. Thanks again for joining, and we'll talk to you again next week.